Welcome to My Smart Tech TV. My name's Jess and I'm your host. And today I'm going to be chatting to Carly Shamgar, who's the co-founder and CEO of Shouta. Shouta is a nano gifting app. And if you're wondering what nano gifting is, Carly's going to explain it to us in just a moment. So let's welcome Carly. Carly, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to get you to start off by introducing yourself and telling us a bit about you and your background.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's great to be chatting with you. So my background, I've been in the startup space for about a decade now, but before that, my background was actually in the media industry, in sales. And so I was working for Australia's top publishers, very cutthroat industry, working with big FMCG brands, so beauty brands and, grocery brands, which gave me sort of a really good holistic overview into all different industries from a marketing perspective. And then once I had my first child, I thought that being in that cutthroat industry was probably enough. It had kind of run its course. And so I decided to look for something new. And I went from a cutthroat industry into startups, which is kind of equal mayhem, but in a different way. So, and now I've been in that tech startup space for about a decade now.
And you're the co-founder of Shouta. So is this one of your? Is it over a decade? When did Shouta start? And tell me about Shouta as well.
Yeah, sure. So no, Shouta is certainly not a decade old.
As I
Yeah, no. So Shouta is brand new. It's my new baby with my co-founder, Nick Redwood. And it's only been running for about 6 months now, although we have been working on the business for about a year before we launched. And I have had been involved with other startups before as both a co-founder and an investor, which went to a successful exit, the last one. So Shouta is kind of the new kid on the block.
The new kid on the block, love it.
Yep.
And tell me about Shouta. What does Shouta do?
So Shouta is a micro gifting app that lets you shout someone anywhere in Australia, coffee, drinks, or anything else as a token of your thoughts. So we like to think of ourselves as the app for all of life's mini moments when you just want to say thanks, congrats, thinking of you, I miss you, survive lockdown, all those kinds of things. And you want to say something to friends and family with more than just a text message. So actually send a token of your thoughts.
And how did the idea for this come about? Because I feel like this is really unique. I haven't come across anything like this. So yeah, how did this come about?
Yeah, so the idea came about because myself and Nick are not originally from Australia. So what we basically found was that we were often in a situation where we wanted to shout something to our friends and family overseas, to touch base with them and stay connected to them. And we did a bunch of research and there just wasn't anything like that where, other than sending a $200 hamper of biscuits or a very, beautiful but very expensive bouquet of flowers, there wasn't really anything that you could kind of send as a token of your thoughts to friends and family overseas. And the ultimate aim of Shouta is to have this cross-border shouting happening. So at the moment, you can shout anyone in Australia, but eventually we hope to open this up internationally. So essentially when you send someone a shout, what you're actually doing is giving them instant access to a prepaid reloadable Shouta Mastercard. And so they're able then to redeem their shout, whatever it is you've sent them, wherever Mastercard is accepted. So it will be possible to eventually do this overseas one day.
I can relate to that so much because my dad in America, mum's in Brisbane, but yeah, just I've always struggled with the same thing. And sending flowers is sometimes, it's just even like the delivery cost alone is just so expensive, and to even be able to cut that out. And yeah, so that's awesome. And what you've got another arm to the business as well, Shouta Biz.
Yes. So what essentially happened was we launched Shouta a few months ago, and Shouta Biz was always part of our dev roadmap. We always knew that there was a place for Shouta in the workplace for rewarding and incentivizing teams. And it was actually meant to we were meant to kickstart the build of that now in July. But what happened was we were doing some promotion on LinkedIn about the launch of Shouta app. And I started to get, a bunch of just organic emails from people who had got their hands on the app and were reaching out to me just to say, congrats, love the app. I'd really love to be able to use this in the workplace, but I don't want to send a shout off my personal phone. And, how do we use this in the workplace? And we kind of just jumped on the momentum and we thought, well, we better sort of kickstart the build earlier. And so Shouta Biz has already launched, and it's essentially an online version of the app. So it's a platform that you log into, and you're able to send shouts to the team. We've only just launched, and it's been very interesting also to see the different use cases that companies are using it for.
Mm-hmm.
So people are, or businesses are not only using it to reward and incentivize teams, businesses are using it for customer success. So when customers call up, particularly with software businesses where they're experiencing a problem or a technical issue, once the problem is solved, businesses are then sending customers a shout. So customer success has been interesting. It's been used to nurture sales leads, so either to canvas meetings or to thank after meetings. It's been used at events for to encourage pre-registrations to events, especially digital events where you lack that that personal touch because you can't be face to face in person. It's been very successful in kind of as a nice gesture before an event or function starts, webinars, that kind of thing. So lots of different use cases for Shouta Biz.
And these things make such a difference, especially for building relationships and nurturing relationships, and to do something that's sort of unique like this would be such a, I'm just imagining receiving something like that would be so nice. Is that over email then when it's done via Shouta Biz, or is it still a text message that goes through?
Yeah, so we actually, hopefully by the end of this week, actually, you'll be able to send on Shouta Biz only, you'll be able to send the shout by email or SMS or both. Mm-hmm. The app will always stay, you'll always need the person's mobile number or for the moment, and it will be delivered by text message. Mm-hmm. But you're right, it resonates really well with people, because the other component of Shouta is also the ability to customize the shout and make it very personal, and that's been baked into the app very deliberately and into Shouta Biz. So it is all about personalization. You craft the shout with an image, and that may be a GIF or a selfie or a picture of the team or whatever it may be. Yeah. And then you customize it further with a personal message, and so it is a really personalized experience when you receive a shout. So it does resonate very well with people.
That's awesome. And you guys are doing really well. I've read that you're having exceptional growth, and I imagine that it's such a great time for this as well with COVID, because obviously it sort of just helps, now we need it more than ever. We can't see people. It's so nice to be able to do these things. You guys have done some research around attitudes to gifting in this country. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I'm going to pull something up here so that I just don't get my stats wrong. But essentially what we found, first of all, around spontaneous gifting. So Shouta's, I guess you could say, our primary, demographic is that millennial target market. And what we really found is that millennials are gifting all the time. So they're not particularly tied to specific gifting occasions. They're quite like birthdays and Christmas, for example. Yeah. They're quite happy to gift year round whenever they find that the moment fits, and they're spending around $130 a month on gifting, which is a lot of money. What we also found from our own research is that 88% of Aussies believe that the most thoughtful gift doesn't need to be the most expensive gift. So it's really the thought behind the gift rather than the actual price point. And interestingly, cash isn't ranked as a gift that people think of giving as the number one gift to give, but it's highly regarded as a gift to receive.
Yeah.
Because it's yes.
That's not surprising to hear.
And so, that kind of goes back to one of the reasons why we also wanted to create this Shouta Mastercard, because it just puts the power back into the shoutee or the recipient's hands, and it allows them to spend it where they wish.
But giving that guidance, because I find sometimes if I'm given just cash, like my parents will send me cash, it's lovely, but then it can sometimes just get lost in my bank account, or I don't really having your own Mastercard with that separate cash on. I think that's really a really good way of doing it. It just, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as I said before, you know, Shouta, it's all about the experience. It's all about that personalization and customization. And, you know, the good thing about the Shouta Mastercard as well is that it's reloadable. So you add it to your digital wallet once, it lives in your Google wallet or your Apple wallet. And anytime someone sends you a shout, whether it's, you know, 5 different friends or your workplace, it's linking to the same card. So it's not like you have, you know, 15 different gift cards floating around your wallet or stuffed in a drawer at home. It's just living in your digital wallet, and every time someone's sending you a shout, it's going onto the same card.
It's so convenient. And so have you heard any kind of feel good stories or examples of people using the app that you can share with us today?
Yeah, I mean, plenty stories.
I bet.
we get feedback on the daily. So reaching out to us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, I mean, you know, email, we're getting stories all the time. But I think one of my most favorite stories was a company in Melbourne called CoBuild, where over their lockdown that they had most recently, they sent a shout, a donut shout, because last year over the lockdown, the donut became a symbol of zero cases. And so when Melbourne reached 0 cases recently, we actually created a donut shout, a limited time donut shout in the app. And they used that donut shout to shout all 100 of their employees, you know, celebrate we're out of lockdown shout. And I just thought that was absolutely amazing.
That's so nice.
Yeah, they had amazing feedback from their team about that. So I love that story. But I mean, we're hearing, you know, stories and little anecdotal things all the time.
What a great business. It's so nice to do something that's rewarding and purposeful. I'm sure there's been some challenges along the way with setting up a business, and particularly, you know, during this time with COVID. Tell me about that. Like, what are some of the highs, the lows?
Yeah, so I mean, look, it was definitely interesting pitching to investors for funding over Zoom. That I've certainly never done before. So, you know, that I mean, really, the business took shape over the big lockdown that we had last year. That was really where the business sort of came to fruition. So that was definitely an interesting experience. Pitching to investors over Zoom. Look, we had issues with our payments provider and, you know, tech things that were going on when we first launched. As you do when you push an app into the wild, you can do all the testing that you want, but once you get it into, you know, external people's hands, it's bound to bring up you know, things. But it was, you know, all resolved very quickly. Thankfully, it was all minor, and everything is running smoothly now. What else other than that? You know, it's definitely been quite the journey just launching a business in this pandemic era that we're in. It's a very different time. Businesses have got very different objectives, and it's I mean, in a way, Shouta has kind of played quite well with COVID, because it is, you know, it is all about being thoughtful and being kind and touching base also in terms of with teams in a meaningful way. So in some ways there is that synergy there, but it has been interesting launching a business through a pandemic.
Yeah. And so what do you see? You know, you mentioned that, you know, that you want to sort of global domination in the future. What else do you see in the future for Shouta and Shouta Biz?
Yeah, look, I mean, right now we are very focused on speccing out Shouta Biz further. So what we've got out for Shouta Biz at the moment, I guess you could call is an MVP. It's really that kind of V1 of Shouta Biz. And we've spoken to, you know, almost 80 different businesses now, and they've all given us pretty much the same feedback in terms of what features and functionality they'd like to have from the platform. And so we're really focused on scaling all of those features out now and adding to that as quickly as we can. Then there's a whole bunch of things which I can't talk too much about at the moment, unfortunately, but it's around the Shouta Mastercard and getting sort of into that reward space. So we're very keen to do that, and all of that will hopefully happen within the next 12 months.
That's very exciting. We'll have to do another interview when you have more cool things to update us on. But so for people who are wanting to use Shouta and to get started, what are the next steps? What do you do? How do you find it?
It's in app stores, so it's in Google Play, it's on Apple App Store. Just type Shouta or go to app.shouta.co on your phone and download the app, register, and away you go. If you're wanting to register for Shouta Biz, your business on Shouta Biz, you go to our website, shouta.co. There is a link there to Biz, and there'll be a registration form on there which just captures basic company details before you get access to the platform.
Amazing. This is honestly, I love this concept so much. I think it's such a gap that was missing, and I think the businesses will get such value from having that. I mean, I know even from other companies I've worked at during COVID, we were trying to go on Dan Murphy's or trying to order things, and it can get quite it can be such a logistical nightmare. So having something that's streamlined and also has that thoughtful touch, I think is really, really great. So thank you for joining me. Do you have any last things you want to say? Any parting words? Any questions I've missed?
No, I thought it was really good. You asked like all the good questions.
That's good.
Parting words. I haven't got anything profound to say.
That's okay. It's lockdown. Any cooking tips, or what have you been up to during lockdown? Have you got any new?
So I've got 2 kids, so 11 and 7, and so we're in homeschooling mayhem at the moment, in between Zoom calls and interviews and investor calls. We are homeschooling.
That's something I luckily don't have to experience at the moment, but that sounds I can imagine it's pretty full on.
That's a whole other Zoom call.
Yeah, love it. Well, Carly, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time. I think, like I said, the business is awesome. I can't wait to start using it, and I wish you nothing but success. So thank you
so much. Thank you for having me.